Hello everybody, this is Coach Evan of the Saffron City Sneasels. Welcome to week 4 of the PBL. This week we are battling against Nick of the Cerulean City Psyducks, also our commissioner this year. This is a very good battle, let's get into it. So going up against Nick, I thought I had a really good matchup. My Zygarde really can run through his team. He's got a lot of ground weaknesses, and the few ground weaknesses the few ground checks he has still get hit by 1,000 arrows very hard. So I built my team around getting Zygarde to work. He opened with Hypnotoad, the Heatran. Oh, that's one of my cats in the background. So he opens with Heatran. I expected that, and I got a little bit of priority on my head from turn 1. He has to switch out, fearing a possible Earthquake. I go for the Stealth Rocks. Always got to prioritize the rocks, very important. He goes to Dino Plant, his Mega Venusaur. Mega Venusaur is a little concerning for me, but I've gotten multiple answers here. He only really is weak to Flying and Psychic once he Mega Evolves. Luckily I've got multiple Psychic moves and Flying moves on my team this week. Of course, Latias is one of them, and Latias also resists pretty much anything Dino Plant can throw at me, except I was not expecting the knockoff. It does run knockoff. Probably should have expected it. I lose the Expert Belt, and that doesn't really matter much for me, though. Now, he has to switch out here because even if he can take a Psychic, he's going to be losing way too much HP this early in the match, so he goes out to Hypnotoad, the Heatran. However, I had a little something special for the Heatran. So I go for the Psychic here because, you know, play it safe, lure him into a false sense of security, I guess, and take a little bit of Sandstorm damage. But I have the Hidden Power Ground ready for him. And this one, it doesn't actually one-hit KO, because Heatran is just a very bulky Pokemon, but it does clearly get me in range of a 2-hit KO. He sets up his rocks. My team isn't weak to Stealth Rocks, so I'm not worried about it. I don't really prioritize defogging him. At least not this week. And he gets a little bit left of his recovery, and I can't remember. Okay, I expected him to switch out here. So I go to the Colgate, the Zygarde, because Heatran's not going to do anything to me. And I can't remember if he switches out here. He does switch out here. Okay, so I made the right call that he was going to switch out. He goes out to Yolandi, though, which is not the Pokemon I was hoping for. So this double switch ended up working in his favor and not mine. Sandstorm is over, but that's going to be renewed pretty quickly. I believe I go right back out to my Gigalith. Yeah, Sierra. And once again, getting those that Sandstorm, boosting my special defense. And I can tank anything that this Pokemon can throw at me. So now that I've already got my rocks up, it's more just click the move that's going to deal the most damage. I believe it is the Heavy Slam, that is my choice. Heavy Slam is a pretty good coverage move it learns, and I don't know if Nick was expecting that. It's not necessarily the most commonly run move on Gigalith. Oftentimes people would opt for some other support moves like a Toxic, like he just went for with Yolandi. His Yolandi's having a very good season, by the way, but I wasn't too worried about it. My team matches up pretty well against Yolandi. So I go out for the Heavy Slam. That's going to put me in 2-hit KO range, and I think he has to switch out again. It's been a few days since this match, so my memory's not quite as fresh. I'm starting to think I should do my commentary immediately after the battle, but we ended up battling at like midnight, and I didn't want to be making a bunch of noise at night. He goes for the Protect here, so he's just getting some stall damage with the Toxic, and I went for the Stone Edge, anticipating a possible switch out, and if he didn't switch out, Stone Edge would KO from there. So it was kind of a safe choice, although the mischance is certainly worrying. I really wish there was a better stab rock move in the game that most people get. I guess Head Smash, even that one is a drawback. They really don't want rock types to attack too hard. So we got that to Dino Plant, the Mega Venusaur. I switch out, I believe, I can't remember if I specifically expected Dino Plant, but I knew he wouldn't be staying in after he protected the stall and he knew I could KO. But I bring out Mr. Mustache. This doggo is double speed in Sandstorm, and he's got the Psychic Fangs, one of my covered moves, dealing a lot of damage. Life Orb does lose him some HP, and he knocks that off for me, which is kind of good, kind of bad, because I've got enough damage to still KO the Venusaur, and my other checks are also going to be able to get hit by him. I go for the return, and he gets his Flame Orb burn on his Sigilyph. I was pretty familiar with what this Sigilyph was going to be doing. Psycho Shift is like the go-to set for this guy. You can pass your status along onto your opponent. It's a pretty cool trick because you have Magic Guard, you don't take damage from the Flame Orb, and you're also immune to other statuses, so it's really, you lose nothing and you gain a lot. And because you have Roost, you also don't need the recovery from leftovers or something. It's an all-around, it's not a great Pokemon, but it's a cool little trick. It's worthy of the NU pickup that he made. He does an Ice Beam that is laughable in damage, and I answer with the Stone Edge. I think that's the first KO of the game, and I'm feeling pretty good right now. Yes, first KO. Can't remember if he went. No, it doesn't matter. So he goes out to Bolt. The one thing that I was really concerned about, I have my Zygarde, he's got his Zygarde 10%, and his Outrage would be able to kill my Zygarde even after a Dragon Dance if he were Scarfed. So my fear going into this match was I need to be able to beat a Scarfed Zygarde 10%. However, he goes for the 1,000 Arrows here against my physically defensive Ferrothorn, and that did way too much damage, so I figured there's only one way that it could have done that much damage, which was Choice Band. He switches out after that, and he brings out the Heat Ram. Okay, so Heat Ram was still up. And I think I just eat a little... Oh yeah, I go for a Gyro Ball. This is probably my worst move of the match. It was very obvious, I think. And it does pretty much nothing, and I do lose a little bit of momentum, but there's also an opportunity here for me to switch in, and I believe I go for Zygarde here. So I gotta get out of there with the 3-peat. Yeah, and then here comes my Zygarde. This is basically a free switch in. The only thing I had to worry about is possibly getting burned from a Lava Plume. He does go for the Lava Plume here, and had I gotten burned, that would have been very unfortunate. I did think about that, but I figured it was worth the risk because this was my easiest way to get in Zygarde short of a free switching on a KO. So I go for the 1,000 Arrows. I don't need the Dragon Dance right here. I don't want to risk getting burned, being greedy. So I get the KO. I can set up later in the match if I need to. He goes out to Bolt again. Once again, I have to fear the Outrage, but I'm pretty sure he's banded here. I don't know for sure, but going under the assumption that he's banded, I figure switch out and hopefully tank a hit and be able to go on from there. I go out to the Gigalith, who is pretty weak, because if Gigalith sets up the sand and faints, I get a free switch in on Stoutland. Stoutland was my counter to Zygarde 10% because his speed is doubled in sand with Sandwich. So this actually worked out perfectly for me. I was very thankful to Sierra. Sierra went down with a KO, but Sierra set up sand 3 times, set up Stealth Rocks, got a KO. Everything I could have wanted. Very happy. So out comes Mr. Mustache, who outspeeds even a Choice Scarf, a Zygarde. And I go for the Ice Fang, which was going to one-hit KO, and then I'd be able to basically clean up his team. But Mr. Mustache misses the 95% accurate move. Bad dog. Such a bad dog. I was so upset with him. After the match, I took him to my office and I introduced him to the newspaper. It remains to be seen if he'll ever get to come out and play again. I was very upset with him. After missing the Ice Fang, I realized this match was going to become way harder. I was in a really good position. I felt very confident that Stoutland and the rest of my team would be able to just kind of steamroll. Now, I don't have the safe checks that I was hoping for. Zygarde, 10%, but I still managed to stabilize here. I get the KO on the weakened Venusaur, and then out comes Ninja. I assumed this thing must have been Scarfed or something. So I switch out. I don't want to risk taking a Poison Jab to the face, and I go out to my my Ferrothorn, and he goes for knockoff. He's very much prioritizing item control in this matchup, which is it's usually safe if you don't know what the opponent's going to do. My Ferrothorn's taken a bit of a beating, and he hasn't performed too well this week, and then he's got the Fire Fang for him. That's okay. I mean, I would have liked to see him do more, but there wasn't much I could do. I didn't have a better switch in, so I had to let him go. Even if he didn't have Fire Fang and he was able to, like, 2-hit KO me with something else, it would have been a pretty similar result. There's not much I could have done to that guy other than just Leech Seeded and delay the inevitable. So I've got a free switch in here with the Zygarde here. He goes for the knockoff, removing my Yachi Berry, because I was expecting some tricky little sneaky moves out of his team. Perhaps a Hidden Power Ice or Ice Beam coverage on somebody. That ended up not being a factor. I do get my Dragon Dance off, allowing me to outspeed. I realized that he's not Scarfed because he used multiple moves. He used Fire Fang and Knockoff. I get the KO with 1,000 Arrows, and in a pretty good spot. I am at +1, right where I want to be, and he goes to Bolt. And I'm like, okay, I outspeed because he's almost certainly banded. So I should be able to take care of this. But he goes for the Extreme Speed, which is enough to KO me. That kind of sucked. I don't know if I should have played that differently. It's kind of hard for me to say. I was thinking about that afterwards. I could have Extreme Sped him back, but I don't think I would have KO'd at +1. It would have been close, I think. But I get a free switch in with Tapu Koko, and I know I outspeed. I can take an Extreme Speed for sure. I even did the math just to double check. I think he actually got a high roll because his odds were very low of KOing there. I don't think it was impossible to KO actually. So I go for the Dazzling Gleam, I get the KO, and out comes Yolandi, who has a good amount of special defense. So I was actually a little worried here. I am Choice Specs, which is why I don't go for the stronger Thunderbolt here. I am locked into Dazzling Gleam. I was actually kind of stressing about these last couple turns. He goes for the Protect, he heals with some leftovers, and I was thinking maybe I should switch out my Koko and switch him back in so I can use the Thunderbolts, but then I risk losing another Pokemon, and it might not be necessary. So I just stay with the Dazzling Gleam, and it ended up being enough. So thankfully I was able to finish off the match and win the game. It was a very close game. Good game, Nick. Bad dog, Mr. Mustache.